Hey everybody, DungeonMattster back with another video. Gonna do something quick today. Hopefully it's quick. I decided it's the holidays. I need to do something holiday themed. So I looked up some stuff online last night and started experimenting, and I came up with these little trees that end up working out really well. They're really easy to make. I made a simple jig to get it done, but you don't need to do it. And it's just some floral wire and some floral tape, wooden dowel for the trunk, some hemp rope for the actual tree, and some green paint and flock. A little bit of PVA glue. Really easy to make. So what I have, let's see if I can find it here. I got these, I think at Ocean State Job Lot. They're LED string lights. The best part about them is, if I can find it on here, well, it's on the paper inside anyway. These can be submerged in liquid. So I can build them into a tree and submerge them in my ink and dye and have them come out fine and able to be placed on a base and have a Christmas tree that lights up. So I'm going to try to do this today, and we'll see how far we get. Stay tuned.
The first thing I had to do was make a jig, and it's just a simple system with a hook and a handle and a screw at the end with a notch where you wrap around some 20 gauge wire wrapped in floral tape. I took the wire and made 4 lengths, just about as long as my jig, folded that in half and wrapped it in floral tape. I then took that double length of wire wrapped in floral tape and doubled that over, and that was what I made my tree with. So I needed a length of wire that was 4 times the length of my jig. The next thing to do was to cut off 3 strands of hemp rope for each tree, which I would then break down to its base parts to unravel it and make it flat and not completely separated, but just have a nice pile of separated fibers here. And that would form the basis for the tree. Take the wire and unfold it into a 90-degree angle and start laying out the strips. I made sure to make it thicker towards the bottom. We take our flattened bristles, stick it in the jig, wrap it around the screw, and you see the process itself unfold. It's pretty simple. It twists it up and turns it basically into a bristle brush, which we're going to trim. This is where the fun part and the messy part begins, the shaping of the tree. Just cutting it down so it's really short at the top and not so short at the bottom. It gives it that conical appearance. I have here a mixture of green paint, green food coloring, water, and PVA glue, which I dipped the tree in, let it drip a little bit, and then covered it in green flock. After drying, I teased it out a little bit with a skewer to separate some of the fibers. This is a tree trunk that I made from 3/8 inch dowel with a hole drilled down the center. Painted it with some brown paint and dry brushed it. I'm just doing a test fit with my lights and wrapping them around the tree. These trees are tough. You don't have to be as gentle as I was being with them. After they dried, I realized how tough they were. You can beat the hell out of them and they're not going to break. And once I got to the top, I just secured the quote-unquote star with a little bit of hot glue, which was just the last diode on the string. After test lighting, we were ready to go. I decided to rewire the battery pack using the bottom of a tea light. It ended up not being as bright as I would have liked it because it needed more power. The TheTerrainTutor has some great tutorials on basing terrain using compact discs. I put a link in the description so you can see his video. But the basis is I just used the CD for the base of my terrain, and the center hole just happened to be just as big as my tea light. I had to trim out some of the tea light to fit my trunk, and afterwards realized I should have wired it up after putting this on, because I had to cut the tea light in order to get it on the wire. But it worked out in the end, so it didn't matter. This tea light was used in a project before, so I was just cleaning off some of the paint that was on it. And here I'm just cutting the slot in it to help it fit over the wire. Getting it all fit together and then hitting it with some hot glue on the underside to secure it. Fitting the wire inside. I had originally intended for the wire to be sticking out of the base and having the tree itself mounted flat to the board, but I realized that wouldn't have provided the support it needed, so I didn't do it that way. Now we're just going to secure it to the CD using some hot glue. I decided there was only one tree on that board. It would be easier if it was just in the center. Cutting out at roughly a 3x3 square of XPS, and we're going to cut a hole in the center of this to match the size of our tea light. I have just a second tea light here that I'm using as a template, and cut it out with a broken coping saw blade that I had modified with a handle. Just be careful with these. They can be sharp, but they work really well for doing this kind of small work in foam. I didn't feel like using my foam cutter, so this made it a little bit quicker. And then I just beveled the internal edge after test fit just to make sure it was the right size. It was. It worked fine. And then I just beveled the internal edge so that I could fit it over what I was doing. I had tried to put some spackling on the outside of it, and I didn't really like how that looked. I wanted to use my texture paste, so I ended up taking all that off, and the bevel on the bottom was for the leftover hot glue and the leftover spackle that I didn't get rid of. And then I just carve a pleasing rock shape using my knife and some various techniques, which I'll go over in a future video. Now the reason I cut it in half was because I had already glued down the base and I didn't want to break it apart and start over. I just took some of my texture paste that I started making. This stuff is great. I got the recipe from Luke's Affordable Paint Service. It wasn't so much a recipe as he just told me what was in it, and I just winged it. It's just basically drywall mud, spackle, PVA glue, sand, and I think that's it. A couple of small aggregate stones. These stones that I'm placing here on the CD now, they stick into this stuff like rock. They're not going anywhere. This stuff is really amazing, and it was really cheap to make. Oh, brown paint, that was the other ingredient. I figured I'm making one, I might as well make several, so I made more trees, I made more bases, I cut out some more rock shapes, I made some smaller trees that were basically 1.5 sets of bristles, so they could be short and really thick, like small conifers or spruces or whatever your imagination could give you. I cut out some details in these, even though they ended up getting covered with the texture paste. They gave the rocks in the end just had a really nice shape, really nice texture. They took the paint very well. When that texture paste sets up, it sets up solid, it doesn't budge. I highly recommend it. It makes basing terrain so much easier and quicker than glue and flock, especially when you're doing the undercoat. I like to put it on with a stippling technique with my brush. I'll let it dry for a while, probably about a half hour to an hour, and then I'll come back and I'll stipple it again, and it just gives it the best texture. It takes a dry brushing amazingly. And you don't have to base it in brown. It's already done. Some larger stones and some smaller stones. It's better to have variation. More for the eye to focus on, I think. I painted my stones gray so that I could give them a uniformity when dry brushing, but this step is totally optional. If your stones look good enough to you, you can certainly keep them the way they were. I wanted to have exposed rock on the sides of these hills, so I painted some. My color choice for natural stone is pewter gray because it has a greenish tint to it. So I'm adding the pewter gray to the sides of the stone here, and then when I put the grass flock on top, it'll give it 3 layers of variation in the terrain in terms of color. And then I come in with a dry brushing, in this case of a granite gray. It makes the rock pop so much better. And we're gonna do a black wash next. This is black and brown. I came up with a different recipe. I found it on another website, or sorry, another channel. Poster John Gunter, on a comment on my video on the mausoleum, said I might be using too much water, and actually what I had was a mixture that was almost completely jet dry and paint, which did not work at all. It ended up leaving this film, and I don't know why, for the love of God, I used so much jet dry, but this was water, black paint, brown ink, and just a drop of jet dry, and it worked pretty good. So I was happy with the result of this black wash. And I have a basing glue mixture that's a 2-to-1 ratio of so 2/3 of the container is water and 1/3 is white PVA glue. I just use Elmer's, and I put it on like a wash, and I try to get the grass on it before it runs away too quickly, and this just holds it so well. It doesn't go anywhere. And then when it's all done, I hit it with a spraying from a spray bottle of the same mixture. There's several good videos out there about basing and basing glues. There's a channel out there, Boulder Creek Model Railroad, Luke Towen, has great videos on using rubbing alcohol and a dropper of basing glue, and his recipe for basing glue is actually what I used. Rocking the Boba Fett apron. here you have it. The trees are all done. Very, very happy with the result. And now I get a light up tree to use during the holidays. The TheTerrainTutor's method of using compact discs for scatter terrain is just unbelievably genius, and I'll be using it again to make other pieces.
Everybody, thanks for watching. I just wanted to say thank you to all my subscribers. You guys have been awesome. And it's been quite a journey learning what I've learned these last couple of months about YouTube, about making videos. I couldn't have done it without you. So thanks everybody on the DM's craft boards, everybody on Instagram, and most of all you guys. Without you, I wouldn't even dream of trying this again. So thank you to all my supporters. I look forward to new videos every Sunday, and I hope to continue this into the new year. So stay tuned for more. I wish you all a safe and happy holiday. Take care.